Dragon Riders, Kaze no Kaeru, by Night Dragon Zero. Night Slice's perspective. "Why didn't you come for me?" she asked, standing before me, as I'd always remembered she'd looked. "Things haven't been good. I've been waiting all this time for you." "Chris, it's not like that," I begged. "I've tried, but I understand." She reached out a hand to touch my human face. "You have your own life now, like I have mine. Farewell." She turned and begun to walk away. "Chris! No, don't! Please don't go!" Her form flickered and then vanished. That was when I jumped out of bed, sweating, but managed to keep myself from screaming out loud. It was the nightmare I'd simply dreaded. I awoke this Christmas morning with both a sense of happiness and remorse. I'd come this far, having Hazuki with me. But Chris... I tried to shake the thought out of my mind. She certainly wouldn't hold a grudge against me, but I felt I wasn't trying hard enough. I'd been so absorbed in my own quests, regaining my Scyther form, unlocking my forbidden powers, protecting Hazuki from Team Rocket, that I'd forgotten the actual reason I started this journey. Chris, what were my options? Sneaking into a rocket base? If I knew where to find one, that was. I hadn't really considered these things earlier on. Now that I had my original form back, I didn't know where to start. I had a lead to collecting one of my forbidden powers, but was there any point? I could become powerful enough to go barging into a base, but would I be able to find Chris? "You have that nightmare again?" Hazuki asked, walking over. "Yeah," I said, biting my lip. I noticed the sun was streaming in through the windows. Looks like I overslept, too. It was a great change staying in a grand hotel for once. What's more was my, new experience last night. New as in human to human, that was. "It's because of me, right?" Hazuki said softly. "That you've been trying to look after me and not have time to look for—" "No!" I burst out. "Sorry, no. It's just, I was messed up from the start. I never was good at future planning, and now I don't know where to go." "Well, I can give a suggestion. We can explore that temple we were told about first. Then I'll act as bait. Since Team Rocket is after me already, I'll—" "No way! I can't let you do that!" I protested. "Please, I'm not a poor defenseless little girl," Hazuki insisted. "I have to do something to help you too." "Well, it might just work." "Great, Yukiro-san! Well, we'll have plenty of time to come up with a way to attract their attention on our way to the temple." I grinned. Sometimes her optimism was quite inspiring. "Then what are you waiting for? Better get yourself prepared, because we'll be heading off soon." Firestorm's perspective. "Dracia, watch it!" The female Dragonite swerved to the left, barely in time to avoid a rocky outcropping. "Sorry," she whispered. I had to admit, she was as much a daredevil flyer as me. Unfortunately, in human form, I didn't have wings, which was my cause for concern. At least Agwal and myself were able to hold on. It was Christmas morning, and we were following Lisa and her Charizard, Charla, on a winding path through the canyon. I could just feel the Charasific Valley was close, and so was Jade. Now the problem was of how to get him to remember. I shuddered at thinking of what he nearly did to me the first time he'd lost his memory. "Well, we're here," Lisa told us as we landed. We'd arrived at a lakeside decorated with Charizard statues. In front of it was a huge iron door that looked like it had been built into the mountain itself. "Wow!" I gasped as the door slid open. "Hello, Lisa," another green-haired woman greeted. She was a lot older, of course. "Merry Christmas, Aunt Theresa," Lisa smiled. "I've got some friends I'd like you to meet." They brought us inside the house, and we detailed our problem. Theresa allowed Lisa and Charlotte to accompany Dracia and myself. The valley's caretaker knew a new Charizard that came in several days earlier that had taken up to roosting at one of the western coves. "Jade, have you thought about what you're going to do if you find your Charizard?" Lisa asked. "Don't worry, I've got a plan," I replied. Unfortunately, it might also involve giving the girl the shock of her life. True to its name, there were Charizard everywhere. Many of them looked up in curiosity at us, but did nothing more than that. I did understand what they were discussing. Apparently, they knew Lisa and Charla were wondering what purpose the other human had here. I ignored them, however. My mind was firmly set as I searched out my lost friend, and I just knew it when I saw him. He was standing on a ledge, together with a female Charizard. "Dracia, drop me off here," I ordered. Nodding, the Dragonite complied and flew back into the sky to wait with Lisa and Charla. Jade eyed me curiously as I approached. I wondered if he still remembered me after all this time. "Jade," I said softly. It was just as well that the others in the sky couldn't hear me. He only growled in return, body tensing. Old friend, you don't even remember me? Jade began roaring. Lisa was apparently shouting something that I paid no attention to. It's me, Jade. Those memories were true. In your heart, you know it. Jade opened his mouth and fired off a large burst of flames. However, I stood my ground, opting to believe in my faith. I felt the singe of the flames as they passed just inches away from my face. Jade, please, remember your true self. He hesitated, a confused look showing in his eyes. Heaven knew what was going through his mind at that moment. Finally, he spoke. Jade? Then I felt something was not right. Watch out! I yelled, leaping forward and knocking Jade over, just as several shots hit the ground. I screamed in pain as one got me in the right shoulder. My hand became stained with blood when I clutched it. Jade and the female stood up, glancing around for the source of the attacks. What? Who? I heard Lisa yell. Charla! I heard Charla's cry. I didn't hesitate the moment I saw them fall. I jumped off the cliff and morphed into my Charizard form. I caught them and dragged them onto a lower ledge. Jade? How? Lisa gasped. I'll explain later, I growled. Storm! Dracia called, pointing to a helicopter hovering nearby. It wasn't marked with a Team Rocket logo, but I saw a purplish one with an S-like symbol instead. The Silph forces, I muttered. Bastards, how'd they find us? Huh? What's this? Lisa reached up and pulled a circular metal object from her collar. A tracking device, I realized. They must have gotten it onto her sometime when we were walking through the crowded streets. Ogwell and I had checked ourselves thoroughly, but not her. What? How could he turn into a Pokemon? A masked soldier with a machine gun leaned out of the helicopter's doors. Who cares? We have orders for dead or alive and no witnesses, another voice replied. Even if it means shooting down every living thing in this valley. No! You can't do that! Lisa cried. Stay down, I whispered. Then to the special forces, I yelled in anger. How dare you violate the sanctity of this place with your vile presence! Haven't you caused enough harm already? Dracia roared. We have orders, the Silph Forces soldier replied, and nothing will stand in our way, not even you, Chimera. Silence! I roared, charging towards the helicopter. The soldiers opened fire. Integration! I summoned up my sacred powers and threw off the lightning burst, canceling out their bullets. The helicopter was swift enough to dodge the lightning blast, but not the flamethrower that came from Jade. Another thunderbolt from Dracia caused its engines to fail, sending it crashing to the ground below with a huge explosion. Storm! Guys! Ogwell called. Theresa and himself were riding on the back of a huge old Charizard. They just came and threatened us at gunpoint, Theresa explained, but Ogwell's Pokemon managed to get us free. They've got several more of those helicopters in a group at the Eastern River, Ogwell added in. They're clearly intent on capturing or killing all the Charizard here. What motive could they have for that besides wanting me? I wondered. It doesn't make sense. Who are these people? Lisa asked as the ant leapt down to her ledge. Scoundrels. Corrupted bastards that seek to destroy the lives of others, I said. They're here because of me. No, Theresa put her hand on my shoulder. I may not know much about you or how you can become a Pokemon, but I know a good heart when I see one. Evil will be evil no matter what form. Those willing to fight against it should not be the ones to blame. And Theresa, Lisa muttered. Thank you, Theresa, I nodded, wiping a tear away. She speaks the truth, Ogwell nodded, letting Sarek and Mirage out. Firestorm, you must take the lead. Do what you know you must. This valley, this sanctuary, I will protect it, at all costs! I let off a thunderous roar that echoed through the valley, a call to arms in which I implored my wild brothers to join me. My worries that they wouldn't listen to me were soon erased as dozens of respondents came. The Charizard of the valley had rallied behind me. I gave out more messages, who the enemy was, and to gather together. It filled me with great pride as Jade stepped up beside me and joined in my calls. The battle for our home had begun, and we would not be defeated. Jade's perspective. This human, he was different. Not like the woman and her niece, but something else. In front of our eyes, he became one of our own, a Charizard. With several cries for assistance, the valley had united behind him. We would protect our home from the humans who wanted to destroy it. Firestorm, this being, was he some sort of god? I wasn't sure, but as I stepped up beside him, some feeling overcame me. It was an odd one, a familiar one, like I'd known him all along. Jade, he called me that. Was it my name? How had he known it then? The group of humans and other Pokemon had a quick discussion. They needed someone to guard the young girl, Lisa, and the wounded Charla. My mate volunteered to stay behind with the humans and the non-flying Pokemon. We kissed before I took off to join the rest of my brethren in formation. It was a massive group assault against our enemies. Leading it was the Elder, the Dragonite, and Firestorm. "Nice to fight alongside you again, Jade," Firestorm spoke to me as I flew up beside him. "We have fought together before?" "Yes, but it was pretty different then. After this, you'll see." In my heart, I felt it was true, but there was no time for hesitation now. The groups of flying machines came into view, and the exchange of fire began. On Firestorm's cue, our formation split into a left and right group to counterattack with our flames. It was an absolutely chaotic mass of aerial maneuvers. Bullets and flames were flying everywhere. The smell of blood, the screams and cries of the wounded and dying filled the air. I flew on Firestorm's right side and provided cover fire. We each took out an enemy machine before splitting up as two more came. I led the one following me towards a mountainside and swerved upwards at the last instant. My opponent was not as skilled, and the human crashed his machine. I roared in triumph and dodged the attack and took down another one bold enough to come charging at me. We seemed to be diminishing their numbers, at no small losses to ourselves, but our opponents begun to employ more vicious techniques, using electric bursts, steel nets, and Pokeballs to capture us. Firestorm 2 seemed to grow more furious with each kill. He was like a flash of light, zooming around, ripping nets and smashing open Pokeballs, thus freeing our captured allies. Not even the electric blast stopped his special techniques. I watched in awe as he used his Spin Slash, curling up and spinning like a ball. He bounced against a group of 4 machines, taking all down with relative ease. However, he fell out of the sky after that. I swooped down and barely caught him in time. "Thanks," he gasped as we landed on the ledge. "Hey, you alright?" the Dragonite asked, hovering beside us. "Yes, we're fine," I nodded. Our brethren seemed to have gained the upper hand. In all the chaos, I realized that Firestorm and I were on a ledge above where we'd left our human allies. My mate had already dragged Charla into our cave for safety. The humans were still outside, watching the battle play out in anticipation. Then, one of the machines appeared next to them. A pair of armored humans with guns leapt out. "Move!" the silver-haired man yelled. The Vaporeon and Ponyta followed him as he ran for cover. Lisa, however, suddenly tripped. The young girl screamed in horror as one of the soldiers fired his weapon. That was when Teresa jumped in front of her niece and took the bullets in the chest.